Hey, thanks for checking out my video. I want to show you guys what I've been playing the past few days. I've been playing Facebreaker Warden, and here's a clip from Uber Shaper that I did earlier today. This build has outperformed my expectations in every way. The damage is better than I thought it would be. The tankiness is better than I thought it would be. And I was actually able to kill the Uber Shaper first try. I died once because he slammed me and I tried to tank it and I forgot I had a rarity flask on. I feel like if I had put on an armor flask, I probably would have been able to tank that slam too. But here's the damage here. You can see in the final part of the fight here against Uber Shaper. When the Merc actually casts his buff, the damage is pretty solid. And yeah, what else can I say? I killed Ubers. Damage is pretty good. These days, builds have to have decent damage to kill Ubers. So, and then here's a map showcase I'm going to do, and then I'll show you guys the character and how I've set it up. This is a little bit different than any other Facebreaker build that anyone is doing. But I'm playing Volcanic Fissure of Snaking for now. And this build is completely dependent on the Merc for its damage. If the Merc doesn't cast his Rallying Cry, then I have no damage. And you can kind of see that like right now. I have the buff, so the essence is melting. Whenever I have the Merc buff up, everything kind of just instantly falls over. And then you'll be able to tell there's a bit of clunkiness to these Facebreaker Merc setups. If the Merc isn't casting his buff, you like won't be killing stuff. The uptime is fairly good, but it's not like completely 100%. So let me just finish the rest of this map. I'll do it so I can show you what the clear looks like. Volcanic Fissure clear obviously is insanely good. So there's the buff up. Everything dies instantly. Boss is going to fall over too. And then I'll go through the map a little bit more. I am using the Coiling Whisper for Soul Eater stacks. And so the way that I'm enabling that is just with Shield Charge. So I have Hex Touch, Temporal Chains on Shield Charge. So I do have to occasionally Shield Charge into something to maintain the 45 stacks of Soul Eater. And that gives me this really fast attack speed. And then I can kind of just stop every now and then and just slam the ground a few times, and the Volcanic Fissures will kind of just go around and kill everything. As long as I have that Merc buff up. Special Essence maybe? Nope. Oh, I don't think I actually clicked it. And let's see, another Essence here. So no buff, and then buff. You see, as soon as the buff came up, the essence just fell over instantly. Oh, I dropped all my Soul Eater stacks here. You do have to kind of pay attention to the Soul Eater stacks. If you don't maintain them, then they will fall off. And then you have to kind of shield charge against something again to get them to come back. And there you have it. Map is pretty much done. There's a couple more mobs around here that I could go clean up, but you get the idea. Volcanic Fissure of Snaking just has insane map clear, and the Soul Eater makes it really fast. So it's a really fun build. I've had a great time playing this. And so I do have Mage Blood, which I have had in my private league. I'm in a private league, by the way, which is like basically SSF. I found every single thing I have except for this Mage Blood, which I div card gambled. Somebody else found an apothecary, but that could have been my apothecary because I actually do have one apothecary sitting here in my tab right here. But anyway, so I'm using Mage Blood, and the flasks I'm using are silver with an armor suffix, and then a pure evasion suffix jade flask here, and that gives me 20,000 evasion, so I have 71% chance to evade. And then my armor number is low because I don't have an armor flask on. I could put on an armor flask and get my armor up a lot higher, but I don't think I need it. And then I have 90 fire res and with the ruby flask, and then pure crit flask for crit. And I swap this out with a rarity flask sometimes for more gold. But here's the core of the character. The core of the character is, this is an expensive build, by the way. Very, very expensive build, and mostly because of this right here. The Purity of Fire Sublime Vision. I dropped this from Uber Elder, and I had to use it in some way, and so I decided to make this build with it. And so this is a like 1.1 mirror jewel right now. Very, very expensive, so keep that in mind if you're trying to think about putting this together. So the core of the build defensively is the Sublime Vision Purity of Fire with Tempered by War from a Lethal Pride, and then Dawnbreaker and Cloak of Flame. So I have 99% lightning damage taken as fire and 97% cold damage taken as fire. So the Sublime Vision gives you 30, Tempered by War gives you 50 with the less resistance penalty, and then I have a Dawnbreaker that's pretty well rolled, which is 17 and 19. So I don't need any cold or lightning res, because basically all of my cold and lightning damage is taken as fire. And so that's why I have the 90 fire res, which comes from the Ruby Flask plus Purity of Fire. And that's all I have for the 90 fire res. If I take off the Ruby, I'm at 81 max fire, and that's basically all from the Purity of Fire, because I have a little bit of aura effect on the Sublime Vision, 39%, and then I have another 10% right here. And I think that's all I need to get it to go to +6. So the Purity of Fire is giving me +6 max res, which is why I'm at 81 here without the flask. And then the rest comes from the flask. So we're at 90 fire res. And then I also have 40% fizz taken as fire from Cloak of Flame, plus another 20 from my well-rolled Dawnbreaker. So I have 60% fizz taken as fire, and then all my cold and lightning is taken as fire. And then with 90 fire res, that just makes me very, very tanky, like automatically against every type of damage except for chaos. I don't have capped chaos res because I didn't get lucky crafting my boots. I got crappy chaos res here. I would be almost capped if I had tier 1 chaos res on these boots, but I am in SSF. So so that's the core of the setup defensively, and that makes the build feel very, very tanky. And then it's a Facebreaker build, so no weapon. I have a 982 Facebreaker. I'm using the Rune Graft to get increased bonuses from gloves. So that's that 980 is more like 1150 or something like that. So very, very strong when unarmed. And then I'm using a taming for just pure damage because I'm a warden, and warden has to go this side of the warden tree. And so we're applying lots of ailments. We have pretty much perma freeze all the time. We get good scorch. We have avatar for 80% more damage cooldown, which is up all the time. And then the shock stacking, it's hard to stack shocks on this build because of positioning, and like Volcanic Fissure just doesn't hit that many times. But if you were able to just stand still against a single target that lived long enough, you probably could stack up some shocks pretty high. But everything dies so fast. Even like the Ubers, even the Uber Shaper I did died faster than I could really stack up stacks. And then what else? So here's the helmet. We have fizz taken as fire on the helmet also, by the way. So that's 60 and then 66% damage, 66% fizz taken as fire, which is insane. And then the helmet is just in accuracy and suppress. You do need some accuracy somewhere. You're not going to be hit capped. And then I wanted to get as much defenses as possible to give me a little bit of layer of energy shield for Ghost Dance to do something. I am running Ghost Dance. And then I have a Chaos Res Light of Meaning up here, which I also found this league, and so I wanted to use that. That's making up the majority of the Chaos Res that I have. And then the Amulet is Rigwald's, so this gives me a decent amount of base crit. I rolled it with some crit Tainted Catalysts, or I rolled crit with my Tainted Catalysts, so I got 7.8 base crit. There is a chest called 7 Teachings that you can use, which would give you like way more base crit, this one right here. But I wanted to go more defensive on this build. I feel like my damage is already good enough. I am planning on trying out a champion here variant of this, and I'll probably use this on the champion version though. But the amulet allows you to take claw nodes for damage, speed, and crit, and so that's why I have this claw wheel here, because it works with unarmed because of the amulet. And then double accuracy wheels here for accuracy capping. And then what else on the tree? I'll show you my masteries real quick. I have this 3% one, doesn't really do a whole lot. Increased ailment effect is good. Reservation there, that's how you put on all the auras. 40 converted to cold here. That's important. So we have 60 converted to fire from the gem, 40 here, plus another 14 fizzes extra cold. This is what allows you to use Trinity. Trinity does have a little bit of jankiness to it. Sometimes it's not up 100% of the time, but it is up fairly consistently. You can see the damage range there. The cold is enough to proc the fire. We have that jewel, the Lethal Pride, Tempered by War, and then we path all the way over here. You have to come over here to get this reduced curse duration to enable the Soul Eater from Coiling Whisper. And then you have to use this buffs expire slower rune graft also. This is to keep your Rallying Cry buff up longer because all your damage revolves around that Rallying Cry. And then this also works on Avatar too. When you pop Avatar, it's up for like 13 seconds. It's insane. And then let's see what else. Life count as low life 55. I don't know why I have this. I think I had this left over from when I was running Petrified Blood. I was running a Petrified Blood setup like yesterday. I don't really need that point anymore. That point's kind of not doing anything. But yeah, that's the tree. It's a pretty simple tree. And then my boots, what else do I need to talk about? Coiling Whisper, my boots are just int. You do need int on like both of these rare items since we have like almost full unique, so we don't have the int anywhere to put on like a high level helmet here. You need 132 int to use a Torturer's Mask. So int on the boots, and then I wanted high chaos res, but I wasn't able to get it. I could make better ones, but I'm probably going to move on to a different setup. And then the Mage Blood, Facebreaker, and I already showed you the flasks. That's the whole character. And then for hey, I just realized I forgot to cover the Mercenary, so I'm going to try to edit this in. So here's the Mercenary. You need a Swift Blade. This is the only Mercenary that can use a two-hander that uses Rallying Cry. So basically the way this works is you put on the biggest two-hander you can possibly get for flat damage on him. This one I have isn't that even good. It's tier 3 Fizz with Essence flat, or tier 3 Hybrid with Essence flat, and then crafted Fizz. You could definitely like recom a much better, much higher Fizz damage weapon. Maybe a base with higher quality too would be really strong. And then the way it works is the Mercenary casts his Rallying Cry on you, and then you get a portion of the Fizz from his weapon. And so that's why you just want the biggest flat weapon you can find. Ideally, you want a Merc that has a more duration support on his Rallying Cry. I haven't been able to find one yet. And then this one also has Incite, which gives me Frenzy Charges because I don't have Frenzy Charge generation on the build at the moment. So this is kind of good. Most people use one with Pride because they do pure Fizz Facebreaker builds, but I don't need Pride on this version. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. He's just a Rallying Cry bot. That's all he is. And then I slapped Call of the Void on him to get a little bit more defensive layer, less damage taken. I also have Combs Binding on him, which I forgot to talk about earlier. So this gives me another 25% Fizz taken as fire. So I have 66 on the character plus 25 here. That's 91% Fizz taken as fire. So we are like pretty much immune to Fizz damage and fire damage and cold damage and lightning damage. The character's just insanely tanky. And then helmet with just Warcry buff effect craft. And then I have a Warcry speed essence that I slapped on there. And then enemies have less life regen on the implicit. The chest is Warcry buff effect on the implicit is important here. And then the rest of it's just life and defenses and res. And then this ring is Recoup ring, which I was using to experiment with that Howl Crack helmet. That you could put a different ring here. This ring is not really doing anything. Perkle's Toe for lucky damage, and then As the Thunder Anointed for Warcry buff effect. That's important. And then the gloves, I have Maim and Intimidate on there with res and life. I have Intimidate already from Awakened Melee Fizz, but if you didn't have that, then this might help you a little bit. And then Combs Binding, and then the boots, we have Rallying Cry buff effect, so some more Warcry buff effect on the implicit there. And then I put Brittle Ground there to help me get a little more uptime on Brittle, which is insanely strong because Brittle is base crit. So yeah, that's the Mercenary. I'm going to try to edit this into the video. Pantheon, you get freeze immunity from Arctic Armor. So here's my auras. I'll show you the gems. I'm running Herald of Purity, Purity of Fire, and Herald of Ash. I do have an Enlightened 4 that I got from Gravicius. And then Arctic Armor is the other aura. Or they're not auras, actually, technically. And then, is there one more? Yeah, Blood and Sand is the last one. And you can kind of swap Blood and Sand based on if you're mapping or single target. Blood Stance gives you more damage. And then the Shield Charge, Less Duration, Temp Chains, Hex Touch setup. And then I have cast 1 damage taken here, which I put on Cold Snap for Frenzy Generation. I was just experimenting with this. These are kind of flexible gem slots. I have an extra open gem slot here that I couldn't quite decide what to put in. And then Assassin's Mark for single target. If you're fighting a boss, you do kind of want to like Shield Charge to hex it like once, twice, and then 3 times. And that'll put you at max Soul Eater stacks. And then you want to cast your Assassin's Mark on it after that. And then you attack it with Assassin's Mark up for a little bit, and then once your Soul Eater stacks start to fall off, you want to Shield Charge it again, get your stacks back up, and then recast the curse. So there is a little bit of like player input required to min-max the damage on this. And so then we get the freeze immunity from the Arctic Armor, so we don't have to run Brian King. We can run Lunaris. Avoiding Chain is good with a Merc around you all the time too, plus Herald of Purity minions. And then the Minor Pantheon, you guys know about these. They're not that impactful. I was using this one, but none of them really do all that much. And so I think that's the whole character. What else do I need to talk about? I showed you the tree, jewels, items, gems. Oh yeah, main links I guess is Volcanic Fissure with Awakened Ellie damage, Pulverize, Multi-Strike, Trinity, and Melee Fizz. The Multi-Strike is really strong, especially like once you have the Soul Eater stacks up, you will attack super, super fast. But the downside to Multi-Strike is you can't use Infernal Cry because Infernal Cry doesn't work with Multi-Strike. I was going to experiment using Infernal Cry to help fill up some of these gem slots, get a War Cry on the build for Combust for better clear, and then it gives you lots of fizzes extra too, which kind of makes the Trinity not work as well. But then you blow through the Exerts so fast because of having such high attack speed that it makes it kind of not really even worth it. So yeah. Anyway, this character has been a ton of fun. I just wanted to make a quick video about it. This isn't like a full guide or anything, but this character was really fun and really, really strong. I think I'm going to try this variant, this like core defensive variant on a champion version here next. The Sublime Vision, Tempered by War, Dawnbreaker setup. It's like so insanely powerful. I'm surprised more people aren't doing this. Just makes your character like very, very beefy like immediately. And then Cloak of Flame on top makes your character strong against Fizz too. So yeah, that's the character. I hope I didn't forget to cover anything. Just want to give you guys a quick overview of it. Thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.